I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about, was blocking them the wrong move? Well, when you're going through a breakup, one of the things that we do is we get really freaked out about social media, especially the way it is now. There's so many different social media options out there, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and all the other ones that are out there now, TikTok. There's just so many things out there now, and it can get so overwhelming because a lot of times, after a breakup, we recommend not looking at what's going on with your ex, because when you stop watching their things, it makes them kind of wonder if you've moved on, why you're not looking anymore, and ultimately probably triggers their separation anxiety. Okay? So a lot of times we talk about those things in coachings and the specifics of it because every situation is so unique and what's going on with it. So we don't like to give a blanket statement all the time, but blocking. Is there a reason to block somebody? Well, I suppose if they're harassing you, that would be one reason to block them. But for the most part, I don't really recommend blocking somebody because, what's the point of blocking someone if they're, not acting immature or harassing you in any way? I mean, I know sometimes we feel like we need to do it for our own mental health. And if you truly feel like you have to go that route, then okay, you have to do what's best for you. But, I would suggest lesser intense behaviors than that if you could. Like just unfollow them or make it so you don't see their posts or mute their stories or whatnot. I would go that route before blocking. But I understand that sometimes we get so emotional that we feel like, oh, I gotta block them. I can't take this anymore. I can't look at what they're doing anymore. And then you feel like, well, oh no, I've probably ruined everything. I probably ruined the situation. And I got an email coaching today from somebody that feels that same way. But as we start to look at this situation, it makes me really think about how much is blocking or unblocking somebody, how much is that even really affecting the situation? Okay? So this is from a guy in his early 20s and dating a woman that's around his age, just a little bit younger. They met in March of 2021. And they started dating in May. And he says everything was going amazing. They were both really happy, and it felt like he found somebody that he was meant to be with and even maybe spend the rest of his life with. Now, it was very early on to say those kind of things, so you always want to take your time to get to know people, but it went off to a good start, as you could see. He said, we rarely fought, and if we did ever have a disagreement, we were always able to solve it civilly through conversation and listening to each other. She's extremely caring and loving and was the first person to truly make me feel loved. Well, that's interesting. I hope he wasn't including his parents in that as well. That would be really hurtful. But I'm guessing he meant girlfriend. Then December rolled around and my mom was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, which hit me like a Mack truck. Okay, so I can relate with this. As you may have heard me say before, my mom had cancer and she wound up dying from it, which was pretty shocking because she was completely healthy her entire life, never had a health issue, and I think she was about 65 or 66. she started getting pain in her leg. And we thought, oh, we'll just get it checked out. But we didn't think it was going to be anything. And sure enough, it wound up being an extremely rare, aggressive bone cancer. And it was horrible watching her go through that. Absolutely horrible. And so I understand going through that. Actually, my dad had cancer several times too. And he wound up beating cancer. And the amount of treatments he went through over the years was pretty amazing. But he wound up passing from COVID. He caught it from a hospital when he was trying to get looked at for other things. And he had been in the hospital for a couple weeks, and then he wound up getting COVID. So that was pretty horrible. You may have heard me talk about this here and there. But I understand what it's like to see your parents go through that, and it is not easy. And it kind of becomes the focus of your life. Because, like, particularly with my mom, I had to help take her to appointments or help take care of her. Fortunately, she had a couple great friends that really helped her and helped take her to appointments and stuff too. So I had some help with her. But just watching somebody that you love go through that is incredibly overwhelming. Okay? And it's hard to really enjoy life and all the other aspects of life when you see somebody go through that. So he said, I began to develop crippling anxiety and began having an extremely hard time balancing my relationship, my new full-time job, and being a caretaker for my mom. He said his mom was unable to walk due to the cancer. Yeah, my mom had the same thing. She actually had to have a big part of the bone removed in her leg and replaced with a steel rod. And even though she went through all that to try and get rid of it, the cancer still came back. So it's horrible, okay? And so I know what he's going through. He says, after a couple of months, I actually called the relationship off because she began to get increasingly upset with me and say I wasn't putting enough effort when I would have to call off plans with her due to my mom needing me at home with her. Okay, well, I have to tell you, honestly, this just sounds like real immaturity there on her part. I mean, she's in her early 20s, but I think anybody who's had any reasonable amount of life experience would be understanding that you can't go out and party when you're helping take care of your mother who is unable to walk because she's going through cancer treatments. So, honestly, I would not look at that favorably, okay? That is not somebody I'd be thinking could be a good long-term partner because they're just too immature still, right? If anything, she should have said, I totally understand. Why don't I come over and help you and we can watch a movie or something or, spend some time with your mom to help cheer her up. But she's acting kind of selfish and, she's young and she's immature and that's part of what comes with dating somebody that young and immature. Her pain and sadness became more visible each day, and meaning the ex-girlfriend. And I made the decision to cut things off. Breaking up with her was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, as I didn't want to, but I felt it necessary given my circumstances. Okay, so here we have another case of somebody who's the dumper. He ended the relationship, not because he wanted to, but because he had to prioritize his mom, and he kept seeing his girlfriend sad and upset that he wasn't there as much for her. And so he probably felt guilty. And I have to say, part of that is just her being kind of selfish and immature and not being more understanding of his situation. I mean, his mom has stage 3 cancer. That's pretty serious, okay? And I think anybody in this situation would hope that their partner would be there for him more. Fast forward a couple of months, and she and I decided to give things another go, and it did not go well. Even though we got back together, she was still experiencing separation anxiety from the breakup. Interesting. And whenever I would be unable to reply to her right away, she would get severe anxiety, which ultimately led to her splitting up with me in late June. Well, this is a lot more kind of immaturity here that, you're busy, you're at home taking care of your mom, or you're at work, and it's not like you're out partying and you're not getting back with her. You're doing quite reasonable things, and she's getting that much anxiety. I don't know. Ultimately, you want somebody in your life that can understand stuff like this and say, I get it. No, it's okay. If anything, how can I be there for you more? What do you need? She said she felt disconnected from me and that she thought we got back together a little prematurely. And with my mom getting ready to receive a stem cell transfusion in the coming weeks, I was going to be forced to move in with my sister in New York because my mom was due for 3 months of severe immunocompromisation following her stem cell transfusion. Okay, so I wonder if his mom went to the same hospital that my dad did, because he had a stem cell transfusion as well. And actually, when my mom had passed away, my dad was actually in the hospital at the same time getting his stem cell transfusion, where they take all the stem cells out of you and then they put them back in. But you have to be in this bubble and people can't come in there. So my dad couldn't even be there for me when my mom had passed away. And so, yeah, I mean, this is some extremely serious stuff. And his mom is, having major health issues here. And she's worried about feeling a little too disconnected and having too much separation anxiety. So I think he's trying to be a good son here, right? I mean, leave a comment, support this guy. Doesn't sound like he's done anything wrong, right? She said she wasn't sure how we could make things work with how she had been feeling alone with me moving away for 3 months. Does this not just seem to be all about her? Even though he describes her as really caring and kind, think about how it just keeps going back to her. What about him? What about his mom? What about she's going through cancer treatment and she's going to be in the hospital for 3 months? I mean, I understand if she's saying this is too much, it's too overwhelming, but I don't hear anything about him in here and what him and his mom are going through. All right, so he said, which I understood and I walked away, although it secretly killed me inside. Now, this is where I screwed up. My ex is a partier and tends to post a lot on social media. See, this is what I'm talking about with young and immature. She's a partier and she's worried about posting on social media, not her boyfriend and his mother going through cancer treatments. Given this, I thought it would be in my best interest to block her on Instagram and unadd her from Snapchat, because I was worried that I would be so distraught by obsessing over her posts that I would be too busy sulking to try and be a rock for my mom, who is about to go through intensive treatment. It's interesting, right? You hear this whole story, and he feels guilty for blocking her and unadding her from Snapchat because he wants to be there for his mom and he doesn't want to be distracted and get upset by that. And and he feels like this is his fault in some way. He feels really guilty about this. So I don't think you have anything to feel guilty about blocking her on Snap or Instagram or anything like that. That has nothing to do with why you guys broke up or what was going on here. I mean, I know you're sad and you miss her, but, if anything, I would think you would be a little angry here at her for not being more supportive. Looking back, I know this is the wrong decision, but in the moment, it definitely felt like the right one. I don't think it's that big of a deal, okay? I know you're beating yourself up and you feel really bad about it. I just don't think this is a big deal, and I really overall don't think this has much to do with this story and how you would get her back or not get her back, right? So he says, is there any way to fix this? Blocking her was the wrong move and don't know if there's any way to come back from it. I have been good about not contacting her, but I'm worried that because I blocked her on Instagram, I won't hear from her again. Well, I don't really think the blocking is a big deal. Personally, I wouldn't unblock her right now because that's not your priority. Your mom is getting serious health treatments, and ultimately, if you look and start seeing her stuff again, it probably is going to make you upset and kind of relapse emotionally and not be able to be there for your mom like the way you want to be. And ultimately, I don't think there's any reason to try and repair this right now. You're out of state, your mom's going through health issues, and she's probably going to really need you for a while because I don't know how severe the issue is or how intense it is. But, you know, she's got stage 3 cancer and you don't know what's going to happen. Okay? I've been there with both my parents. I've been there. Fortunately, my dad wound up beating cancer and probably had an extra 10 plus years in his life because he was able to, but my mom was not. Okay? And so I think ultimately she isn't your priority right now. And why would you make her a priority? She didn't make you much of a priority when your mom was going through all this. I mean, she's getting upset and she just wants to go out and party because you can't go out and party when you're taking care of your mom. Like, you know, ultimately, like, you guys are very young, and yeah, sure, she might be fun to date and go out with, but if you're going through something like this and your mom's going through something like this, I would think you would want somebody who's more mature and would make more of an effort to be there for you and your mom, knowing that, you know, she may not survive this. I mean, unfortunately, that's the case and that's the truth. And I hope that she does. And if she's in the same hospital that my dad went to, they have great treatment there. As a matter of fact, it's so good that one of the insurance plans, or the insurance plan that I have, allows me to go out of state if I ever got cancer because I would want to go to that hospital. So hopefully they are able to help your mom and get her to a good place. But don't stress about doing anything wrong here about blocking or unblocking. It's irrelevant. You did it for your own mental health. You're doing it to be a better support system for your mom. If mom gets better and you go home and things turn around, if you want to unblock her and see how it goes, fine. But, you know, also consider that you went through a major issue in your life and she didn't really show you that she was going to be there for you. So how much do you want to really stress about somebody who is showing up like that in your life? Me personally, I would probably say, you know what, this is something difficult and I really liked this girl and had a good time with her, but she wasn't really there for me when I was going through a really, really hard time, and it was kind of all about her, at least based on what he said here. So I wouldn't worry about blocking her. If you want to unblock her after everything with your mom and mom gets better, so be it. But right now, make your focus where it's at. You did the right thing. I think you did the right thing for your mom, and so you could be there for her when she needs you to. Okay? Tough situation, I know, because I've lived it. And I'm sorry you're going through it. I hope your mom gets better. And if you need my help again, you can get it on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.